If you think of some of life's greatest philosophical and existential questions, then definitely up there amongst them is going to be the question, how do I pop up on a shortboard? Now this video is part 2 of this subject, and it's aimed really at people who are transitioning down from a longboard. The general vibe is that you've got to kind of have your shit together a little bit more on a shortboard, and I've come up with 5 more things I think you might want to consider when popping up. So the first one is positioning, because the process of catching a wave on a shortboard is a little different to that on a longboard. On a longboard you can be further away from the beach and you can sort of glide into the wave. On a shortboard you've got to position yourself more critically. The wave face needs to be a little bit steeper. You've got to be a little bit closer to the breaking part of the wave. When I'm on my shortboard, I like to look for the C shape in a wave, the letter C. And as soon as I start to notice a wave making that letter C, I know that that is a good spot for me to catch that particular wave. Make sure you've got good agility on your shortboard in a lineup. So sometimes you've got to be like a hungry lion hunting down your prey. Make sure that your paddle technique is good. You don't want to have those short, scratchy sort of paddles. I will often kick my feet at the back of the board when I'm trying to get into a wave, and I know surf purists are a little bit sniffy about that, and I understand their argument that it can look a bit kooky and it can destabilize the board to kick like that, but I just feel that it just helps to sort of propel me into the wave, especially at mellow spots like here. That extra speed just helps me that little bit. People often ask, should you get your head and chest down in those final moments before you catch the wave? The answer is it kind of depends. Okay, in an ideal world, I think we would all keep our spine pretty neutral, but definitely very often when I'm on my shortboard, I feel myself, I slam my chin onto the deck of the board, I lower my chest down because I'm trying to get the weight forward so that I can get into that wave. But as soon as I feel that I've caught the wave, I arch my back again and I bring my chicken wing hands back by my ribs, so my thumbs are back by my lower ribs because I don't want to be popping up in that buckled over position. The next point is you don't want to have flaily arms. Some shortboarders, they work really hard to get into the wave, but then they take all that momentum into the pop-up and they end up doing this kind of rodeo arm or Madonna's Vogue, and it just looks like they've eaten a big bag of Haribo. You want to have quiet arms at that point, so make the legs do the work. Find the balance through the legs at that crucial point there. This next thing might sound really obvious, but I think in reality it's not. But make sure you're lifting your arms up at the same time. Some people have a tendency to lift, I think it's the toe side arm first, but obviously that's going to unbalance you. So make sure that your arms are working in tangent with each other. Okay, this next point pertains particularly to backside surfing. So when you're popping up going backside, make sure that you get that leading arm out of the way straight after your pop-up. So when I'm going backside, I always make it a priority in my checklist in my head of things to do. It's almost like I'm hitching a ride. I just think about, I get my front arm out of the way. You don't want that front arm to cross over your body because then you risk coming into the dreaded poo stance. Okay, point number 4, and this relates to the style of pop-up you're doing. So in a previous video on this channel, I ran through the 2 big hitters of the pop-up world. They are the Australian pop-up and the jump-up pop-up. Now, in my opinion, I think on a shortboard, the jump-up pop-up is better, so where both feet land boom at the same time. Because if you're doing that Australian method of back foot, front foot, I think that there is a risk that you'll have too much weight on the back foot, too much weight on the back of the board, and a shortboard is a little bit less supportive of that dynamic. So okay, I'm not coming at this from a neutral standpoint, and there's definitely no hard and fast rule on this one, but yeah, my personal opinion is that the jump up might be a better pop-up to aim for. And then the final point today is angling, because one of the great things about shortboarding is that you can take off on steeper waves. Of course that's possible on a longboard as well, but it's a little bit tricky on a big longboard. So if you're paddling on your shortboard to catch a wave and you look behind you and the wave is getting steep, you definitely want to try to angle your takeoff, and you do that by just pointing the nose of your board in the direction that you want to go, maybe those last sort of 7 or 8 paddles. And then when you go to pop up, in your chicken wing hands, apply a little bit of extra pressure on the hand that's closest to the inside rail. So if you're going right, a tiny bit of extra pressure on that right hand, and then when you pop up through the feet, again apply a little bit of extra pressure through the feet. So that's going to mean through the feet on the inside rail, so that's going to mean through the toes when you're going front side, or through the heels when you're going back side. And what that will do is, if you imagine, okay, here's the wave and here's your board, it's just going to mean that your board is just gently going to stick into the wave a little bit. It's going to grip the wave, so it's less likely for your board to sort of suddenly flip up or flip down. It is quite subtle. It's easy to apply a little bit too much pressure and to get it wrong, but when you get it right, it feels really good. So give it a whirl. Thank you very much for watching. Cheerio. Bye.